Welcome to Chapel Hill Maker. I'm Rachel, and I love knitting and making here in beautiful Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I am so happy that you could join me today. I have some works in progress. I have a sewing FO, sort of, and some updates on my old whips and some plans, and I look forward to telling you about all of them. I would love to connect with you off of YouTube, and if you'd like to find me, I am Chapel Hill Maker on Instagram and Ravelry, and I love reading all of your comments and connecting with you in various and sundry ways, so definitely reach out and find me. Our summer stitches and strides move and knit along is still going on, and would love for you to still join us over on Discord. We're going to be wrapping it up pretty soon, and we have prizes, and even better than that, we have just the nicest people you could find. So I've put a link in the show notes, and we would love for you to join us over on Discord. Let's see, what else? That's my only announcement for today, and I'm gonna just jump right in. Today I am wearing the Lacy Loops tee by Other Loops, and this is a very oversized summer knit that I think I made it last summer. I shared this in all my summer tees episode. I have my notes here. Sorry, I'm holding that. And it is made out of Nord luxury silk. I think you cast on back here. I love the way this shoulder line looks. And it's a really memorizable and fun pattern. This is kind of the time of year when I'll start wearing it because it is sort of this butternut squash color, and it's finally maybe going to be cool enough for a little bit of knitwear to make an appearance again, because it has been so hot and humid here in North Carolina this summer that it has been hard to kind of wear a lot of my summer knits. So yeah, so that's what I'm wearing. I definitely recommend it. It's very cozy and flowy, and it knit up super fast. I can't remember what size needles I was on, but they were big. And I wish this yarn had a little bit more sort of sheen to it. Maybe, I don't know what the right word is. Sorry. If you hear jingles, Miss Poppins is very busy here today. So biting my toe as we speak. Seriously, she's biting my toe. Help, send help. So for my works in progress today, I'm going to continue moving on because I have a few things to talk about. But after I finished my Norma cardigan, which if you haven't watched that video, I can put a link to it here. After finishing my Norma cardigan, I felt sort of like a knitting hangover. I didn't really want to work on a lot of my already started projects, and I kind of wanted like a quick palette cleanser. And so I cast on the Gigha, I think it's pronounced Gigha tank by Rebecca Clow, the Crayabea. It's spelled Gigha. Someone was nice enough to tell me that I wasn't pronouncing it correctly last time, but I cast that on. I thought hers was so cute, and I kind of didn't really have a good plan with it. Like, I just sort of was very impulsive and cast it on. And I did swatch and got gauge, and then I cast on the wrong size. It seems to be a trend with me. I don't know why, but this is knit in pieces. So you knit the front and the back panels separately, and then you pick up stitches along the side and around the top, and you knit ribbing to join the sides and create the straps. And then for the last part, you pick up and knit the hem. You knit the waistband of the tank. And so I am like, I think I have 2 rows left, and then I'll bind off. So I'm kind of excited to have this done. Although I will say it does not have, I sort of fit in between sizes. So I cast on the wrong size, but it was because it was a sort of an educated risk in that I didn't want it to be so oversized that everything was hanging out while I was wearing it, but I also didn't want it to be like too tight. I'll put a picture up here of me trying it on. I think it worked out. I kept trying it on while I was knitting, like over my whatever I was wearing, and that definitely did not give me an accurate picture of what it was. And I think it fits a little bit better than I thought it was going to. I really thought I was going to have to just sort of recycle it or give it to one of my kids, which I might still do. But I it's such a fun look. Like I love the, it gives me like a little bit of like a, I don't know what the right, I like how the dark frames on either side, because it does sort of give that sort of good silhouette for shaping. So I'm on the fence about it. I would say it's a great pattern. It was very well written, although I will say it sort of doesn't, there's not a lot of extraneous details in it. So if you're a newer knitter, you might wait a little while on this, just because she doesn't spoon feed you any of like the how-tos. But if you're motivated, I think anybody can figure it out. So yeah, so that's my Gigha tank, and this will be an FO next time. And it's been a fun palette cleanser, like I said, but I'm not like completely enamored with it, which was sort of a bummer after finishing the Norma, where I was on this big knitting high. It's been like a really transitional time for us and our family, and for probably a lot of you. We dropped our third daughter off at college like a week ago, and she's getting settled, and we're sort of learning to live without her as part of our everyday daily life. And it has sort of, obviously it's emotional when you feel changes and you don't know how it's going to be, and you worry about them and you worry about yourself and all of that kind of stuff. So I think I sort of used this as my distraction from getting, from dropping her off and just needing something to keep my hands busy, but my brain kind of couldn't handle much more than stockinette. And so this was a perfect project for that. I think probably if I was in a better headspace, I would have gone back and cast on the panels again a little bit wider. And, it's not that hard to make adjustments on it. So, so that was my experience with that. But I've also been, I don't know if you've ever had this, like I have periods where everything I cast on seems to work. Like even if I don't swatch, I get gauge and I pick my size and it works, and the yarn is perfect and all the things are perfect. And that's like the most fun part, right, with knitting. But I think for a lot of us, we have periods where things don't fit, where the yarn doesn't seem to match the pattern that we planned for. We download a pattern that we're excited about and it's not as clearly presented as we would want it to be. All of these other things that sort of feel like, sorry, she is just not wanting me to chat with you today. All of the little things that as knitters we struggle with. And I feel like I've been having a bunch of those all at once. And so I had that fit issue with the Gigha, and then I'm also test knitting a pattern, which is a hat, and it's lace. And so obviously gauge is critical with lace. And I met stitch gauge, but my row gauge was a little bit big. And so as I'm getting to the top of the chart, I think I'm on row like 55 out of 65. I tried it on and I'm thinking, this is definitely going to be way too big on me, even just with a 4-row difference over 4 inches. And so I kind of, I'm like, oh gosh, am I going to have to rip this out and start again? So that one is sitting and waiting for some attention. I reached out to the designer and just to ask sort of what they recommended. And then I've been really pondering a lot about my works in progress. I did a long episode for you guys about all of the projects that I had that have been sitting and waiting for some attention. And so I had to take a break to give Mary Poppins a little bit of attention. She is just being needy today. She's missing her sisters now that they're all at school. So back to my conversation. So I've been doing a bunch of evaluating of my works in progress. And I thought after sort of going through the exercise of sharing all of them with you, I have already frogged two of them. One was the jaunty shawl, which I planned to make another one in another yarn, but just it wasn't working with the combo that I had. And the other was the crescendo tee. And also, I just sort of realized that circular yokes for my size body just don't, it just does, I don't like the way they fit. And so it's not to say I won't ever knit another circular yoke again, but it just didn't work. And so that got me thinking about some of the other projects that I had sitting. And I felt like they were sort of like this little low-level hum in the back of my mind of, well, I want to cast on something new, but I have to pay attention to these. And I felt like it was kind of harboring my creative energy to pick up things and work on them. I found actually a couple days where I didn't knit at all, which is totally weird for me. That literally I can count on one hand how many times I've not knit during a day in the last 9 years. So it was enough to sort of create traffic in my brain about my projects. So I've come to some decisions that I feel like I want to share with you because I don't want people to think, where did those go? And also I feel like if I say them out loud, I'm going to stick with them. So the first one is this mokash pullover, which I had modified quite heavily anyway. It's supposed to be an all-over colorwork circular yoke pattern, and it's by Teti Lutsak of Teti's Knit Garden. It is a beautiful, beautiful colorwork chart. And it pains me to say that I'm going to frog it, in which case I'm actually thinking I'm not going to frog it, but I have a plan. It's beautiful. But that said, I love the colors. The yarn and I have not been best friends. I love the colors, and that was what made me order these for a different kit. And then I ended up, the pattern that was the kit was for just didn't work. And so I ended up casting this on because I had the right amount of yarn. And then I finished the yoke, separated for sleeves, tried it on. I'll put a picture up here, and it was way too big on me. This seems to be a theme in my making lately that I take my measurements, I check them. I don't know why, but everything I'm making seems to come out just a hair too big. This was more than a hair too big. It was just didn't fit. And so I don't know if I have the heart to frog it, but I was thinking that if this is size 3 and I'm knitting it on, I think size 4 needles. And I was thinking that if one of you would like to take this and finish it and have it and love it, I would love to send it to you. Just reach out to me either in the comments or through my email, which is linked, or Instagram. I would be more than happy to send this to somebody and have them enjoy it, because it's so pretty that it hurts me that it's not going to be out in the world. But I also just know that this fit isn't right for me. So yeah, so if you think you would want this, I'll send you the rest of the yarn, and I'll send you this, and you can go to town. This is Alpaca Forte from Dale Garn. I had it sent from Norway, and it's an 80% alpaca, 20% nylon. I think the nylon is sort of what I'm struggling with working with it. And also the alpaca, I love alpaca. It's so warm. And so again, I felt like this isn't the right sweater for me for in North Carolina. So yeah, so I've decided that it's going to go on to live a new life. So if somebody comments and they want me to send it to them, they want to finish it, I will send it. If nobody does, then I will frog it and probably just return the yarn to my stash, and maybe I'll come up with a new plan. But I also want to reclaim my Madder Root bag. I love this. I got this at Rhinebeck a few years ago. It even has a chewed corner on it from when we first got Mary Poppins and she didn't know better. And it's one of my favorite project bags. So that is my first big decision. And once I sort of made that call and stopped beating myself up to work on it, I felt like a little bit lighter. So I then decided on another project that I started, which is the Freya sweater. And it's beautiful. This is beautiful. I just don't know if it's going to happen. So I love the yarn. It is, what is it? Stone Cellar Dye Works, and it's their alpaca DK. It's a alpaca single, and it has, look at this halo. It is gorgeous, and it is like a really nice winter white. And I was holding it double with Brooklyn Tweed Loft. I have that cone up there. I don't know if you can see it here, but and I just don't love the fabric that I'm getting. And I'm like, when I've worked on it, I sort of have this question mark over my head. And so I think I'm going to give myself permission to rip this one out too. I haven't gotten that far. And I think that yarn is destined for something different. I love it. I bought it last year and I still love it. But I think it's just not meant to be the Freya, which I also still really like. But for some reason, I can't make myself pick it up and work on it. I'm going to check my notes and see what I have here after I talk about that. Oh, so now that so now that, can you tell that my brain is just somewhere else? So now that I've kind of freed up a little bit of space in my sort of creative chest of drawers, I'm excitedly thinking about what I'd like to work on. And one of the projects that I keep coming back to, I can always tell like if I favorite a sweater and then move on, and then I go back and I look at it again, or I walk through and I look at my stash and I think, do I have something that could work for that? That maybe that's one to sort of investigate as a next project. And so that sweater for me right now is the Saugerties Sweater. And I'm pretty sure it has 3 different motifs that you can do. I'll put a picture of it up here. It has 3 different motifs that you can choose from. It has a little fish motif, it has a bear, and it has a sheep. If you know me, you could probably guess which one I think I'm going to do, and that is the sheep, even though the fish one's really, really cute. I have this precious yarn here. Let's see if we can get a good color of it. There we go. I have this precious yarn here from High Country Wool, which is no longer dyeing yarn. And this is the Flock DK base. And I bought some of this when they first opened, and that was during COVID. I bought 1 skein of each. And I think my contrast, I used this gold color, and now I'm blanking on the name, of course. And this is a light gray, but I used a cream color, and I made these beautiful Norwegian mittens by Skein-Deer. And the yarn blooms beautifully. It was so lovely to work with. It is so like next to skin, sweatshirty, soft, even though it's 100% wool. And I bought some when they were closing because I thought that I needed some of this in my life. And so I ordered a sweater quantity of the light gray. I ordered as much of this as they had left. I think it's called Golden Hour. And I've been waiting for the right project to jump out at me. And so I think this, if I can get the gauge and I can feel good about it, I think this is going to be the Saugerties Sweater. And I am really excited to cast that on. I bought the pattern. I have yet to swatch for it, but I think that's going to be my activity as soon as I cast off that Gigha tank. So that's my first fall plan. I'm starting to want the fall stuff. Like I still have that Kirsten shirt that was a spring summer pattern, and I definitely can feel that I'm not reaching for it as much because it's a summer knit. And so that may sit until the weather starts to show signs of warming at the, next year. But The other thing I'm going to give my attention to is my spot cardigan, which I'm also really excited about. That's going to be a pretty warm one, so I may not end up touching that until it gets cooler. But I would love to have it in time for Rhinebeck, but I'm not going to put that kind of pressure on myself. I feel like with all the change that I've had in the last couple weeks, I've definitely been doing so much reflecting, and I'm trying really hard to be nice to myself about it. You know, like I keep sort of shoulding all over myself and saying, I should feel better. I should do this. I should think that. I should be able to pick up a new project and just knit it. And I think that's just not where I am in this minute. And so the Saugerties sweater looks like it's going to be something that I will get excited about. And that is not so mind consuming that I won't be able to give it the attention it needs right now. So I think that's my next plan. I'm also trying to take some inspiration from Rachel from Table 10. She's been, she's now a monogamous knitter, says she. And I used to be so good at it. And then all of a sudden my brain exploded and wanted to knit all the things at once, which was how I ended up with such a big whip pile. But I'm going to try this one and just give it all of my attention and see how I do. So, so that's my thought. If I could have it in time for Rhinebeck, then I would love that. But I'm not going to put that kind of pressure on myself. So, okay, so those are my fall plans. Acquisitions, I have just one. I got my Woolens and Nosh sock club. It's a quarterly sock club. And I received that this week. And look at this. It's her brand new base, which is 85% superwash BFL and 15% nylon. And first of all, look at the colors. They're amazing. And I'm so excited. The new base has gotten just rave reviews, and I can't wait to work with it. This color is called the Riddle of Steel. And I'm excited to use sort of a dark contrast color. I normally go for light. And so I am going to cast this on soon as my car knitting. And yeah, so I love it. I'm very excited to work with this. Next, I mentioned a couple podcasts ago that sewing was one of my sort of want tos, like learning how to sew, becoming a better sewist. And I'm taking the classes offered by Sew Liberated. You can, they had a sale back in May, and I think I downloaded their whole course catalog. And I've been taking my time with it and working my way through the Sewing Basics class. The first class was for the Nocturne pants. And this sort of fed into my issues with picking sizes and all of that I have with knitting. I had the same problem. I've made a few knitting patterns previously, and I mean sewing patterns rather, and I have a habit of just, I don't know if I can't measure or what, but I have a habit of making things that are too big or picking a pattern that's not right for my body. These were low stakes pajama pants, and I felt really good about sort of following these step by step. I made the adjustments that they recommended in the classes for my short legs, and so that way they would be the right length. And I finished the pants. Here they are. And I'm using Fabulism fabric. I don't know anything else about it. It's a cotton, and I love it. It has these little like hash marks on them, X's across, and it gives it sort of a little quilted look. And I put them on, and they came up to here on me. And so it turns out that not all of you sewists are probably laughing at me, but not only should one make adjustments to the length of the legs on pants, but also to the rise. And so as somebody who is 4'10", I have a short, not only do I have short legs, but I have a short rise. And it did not even occur to me as a new maker that I would need to adjust that. And so I was really bummed. And these sort of sat for a couple days, and they're oversized, like they're wide on me. I probably should have made one size, if not two, down, but they're PJ pants. So I was fine with them being roomy, but I couldn't wear them because they came up to here on me, and they had pockets. And so I was deep in thought about how I was going to make any adjustments. I don't know what I don't know at this point about sewing. And so I was going to just sort of ditch these and say, lesson learned, I'll figure out how to adjust them on the next one. I bought new fabric to make another pair and try again. And then I went out to my sewing room and I thought, if these are bound for the trash anyway, why don't I just play with it and see what I can do to try to make them fit? And think of it as a muslin. And it may not be perfect at the end, but at least I'll get the knowledge of how I can make adjustments in the future. And so what I ended up doing is I took the waistband off and I seam ripped the side. These have pockets, see, which is so nice, but I seam ripped the side here to open the pocket up. And there was, probably 2 inches below the pocket to where it was sewn to the pants. So I seam ripped that down and then closed the pocket up higher, up top. And I just took my rotary cutter and I cut 3 inches off of the, the rise here before you put the waistband back on. And so I then re-sewed the waistband on, added the elastic, and I tried it on, and lo and behold, they fit so much better. I probably cut too much off the rise. They're now a little lower waisted than I would want, but they're pants and I'm wearing them. And I'm really proud that not only that I didn't just walk away, because in the past that's what I have done with sewing, is just said, well, I'm terrible at it and this isn't going to work. I sat and I really played with it and I figured it out. And the inside of these look like a total mess because I've seam ripped and, resewn and whatever so many times. But I learned so much in the process of making these that I'm actually feeling kind of excited to make another pair and see how it goes. I am going to move on. I have more of this fabric to make a top. So I'm going to move on and do their next lesson to make the Nocturne top and see how that turns out. But if you're thinking about learning to sew, I would definitely recommend these classes. In the beginning, they're pretty repetitive and slow, and they tell you that you can adjust the speed of the videos and you can skip lessons if you already know them. But it's been helpful to hear, I hear things more than once because I then start to internalize it and apply it. And so I think that as I keep going and learning skills, I'll be able to sort of just make a pattern, and that's my hope. But for right now, it's so nice to have the hand holding and to sort of just see what happens. And, they even say in the videos, these are pajamas. They're pretty low stakes. If they don't look good, if something happens, then, they're pajamas. Who cares? So I could see, I'm going to try to make more of these, but I'm going to try to make the top first and see how that goes. And I will report back. But after having a little pity party and feeling sad for myself that it didn't work the way I wanted it to work, I'm pretty happy that I was able to kind of go back and readjust and play with it. I was chatting with Madi at Colorado Knitter. She is an accomplished sewist and makes beautiful things, and she really inspires me to keep trying. So I sent her kind of pictures and said, oh, I did it again. I made pants that are, could fit 3 of me. And so she definitely encouraged me to keep trying. And so I'll put a picture here of what they look like. And they're not perfect, but I'm really happy that they're done. And I feel good about it. And I feel like I could move on to the next thing. So all I have left for today is my active news cycle avoidance and my podcast recommendation. And for active news cycle avoidance, I have been really listening to a lot of books, and maybe it's part of my escapist way of handling all of the change that's been going on in our house. And I listened to The Calamity Club by Catherine Stockett, and it's really long. It's like a 29-hour audiobook. I really enjoyed it. It sort of was like a comfortable pair of slippers. The writing was beautiful, really funny at times, poignant. It was hard, like bad stuff happens to the characters that you like, and you're sitting there sort of cringy a little bit, but it's it's like an epic, you know, like my mother-in-law compared it to Gone with the Wind a little bit. Like it's something's always sort of coming up and bubbling down. And so it was what I needed at the time. It kept my attention, and I liked the characters, and I was sort of bummed when I finished it, which I think is a sign of a good book. The other book that I listened to was Yesteryear, and that has gotten so much attention. And I kind of agree with all of the criticism that people have had about it, and that there wasn't enough character development, there wasn't enough of a character arc, it was too one-dimensional and not as well researched, and all of the things. I've sort of done a deep dive online about how people feel about it. All of that said, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great listen. The audiobook was very well narrated. I felt like the author sort of wrote it with the thought of it becoming a movie. You know, like you could almost hear stage direction in the writing, but so maybe that was her plan, and that's why some of the characters are a little flatter than you would want them to be. But it was so thought-provoking and so interesting, and especially as someone who chooses to be online, it brought up a lot of, you know, sort of thinking for me, and I really liked it. It definitely confirmed a lot of my beliefs. It didn't challenge any of them, but I thought it was a worthwhile listen. I don't know if you've read it. Let me know what you think about it. And I'm now kind of in a bit of a book rut. I'm just trying to decide what I want to listen to next. And then last off, I have a new podcast recommendation. And I met these ladies through the Stitches and Stride Move and Knit Along. And it's Erin and Courtney. And their podcast is called Tired, Tangled, and Always Casting On. And they podcast together. I've watched a good bit of their episodes that talk about like all of their finished objects. Each week they have FO Friday, and they share their knitting projects, talk about their experience. They interview each other, and they're really funny, and you can clearly tell that they're good friends. And it is generally it's like a 15 to 20 minute podcast, and thoroughly enjoyed watching them, and I've enjoyed getting to see them in our Discord group as well. So I hope that you'll go and check out Erin and Courtney. They're really funny, and sometimes it's just good to laugh, and they make beautiful projects and really good color choices. Just fun, really fun. I think you'll like it. So I think I did it. I think that's all of it. And I feel I've had 2 cups of coffee, so I'm like, but yeah, I don't know. Is anybody else sort of feeling like they are in this transitional period? I think back to school and change of season always brings that up for me, doubly because we had a child leave the nest this time, and I'm feeling nostalgic about everything, and my emotions are much closer to the surface than they normally are, and so I'm just trying to take good care of myself. I hope that you are taking good care of yourself during this transitional season. And as always, I love the conversations that we have in the comments and on Instagram. And it brings me so much joy to see when people comment. And I can't thank you enough for liking and subscribing and hyping and commenting and knitting with me and all of the wonderful ings. And thank you so much for joining me.